Hey everyone, welcome to Lawyer Up Podcast. This is your host, John Ting. Our guest today practices exclusively immigration law. She has two offices in the North Texas area, Dallas and Arlington. She's been named the Rising Star by Super Lawyers magazine. She's been a guest speaker at conferences and presentations hosted by American Immigration Lawyers Association. That's one of the more well-known organizations assisting immigration practitioners. Our guest went to law school at Texas Tech University, Red Raiders. She went to, she's also a Longhorn. That's where she received her bachelor's degree. During law school, she actually studied abroad in Japan. She does speak both Vietnamese and Spanish. She actually has an immigrant story herself as she immigrated with her family from Vietnam. She provides pro bono hours through Justice for Our Neighbors in North Texas area, North Texas Dream Team, and Catholic Charities. She also teaches ESL and citizenship classes for her church in Fort Worth. Her other interests include traveling. For example, she spent time in Guatemala and Mexico and immersed herself into those cultures. In addition to studying abroad in Japan, she's studied abroad in England. She actually has worked for the government through the Department of Justice right after law school. So we'll see if we have a chance to ask her about that. Fun fact, she's got a dog named Willie, and I look forward for Willie meeting Ralph. Our guest is Carrie Nguyen. Take a listen to our interview. We're going to ask Carrie about the reasons why she decided to practice law, also what she's been able to do during the pandemic, and what tips she has for practitioners and law students. Without further ado, let's chat with Carrie Nguyen. Hey, Carrie, welcome to Lawyer Up Podcast.
Hey,
Thank you
John.
for your time. So you practice exclusively immigration law
That's
in
correct.
the Arlington, Dallas area,
That's correct.
and so we've known each other for I don't know now at least 5 years.
Forever, seems like.
Yeah, at least it maybe forever because of the whole Trump administration, different policies. Um, and so we'll touch on that. But for the focus today, if we can focus on business operations and how you've been out. But let's start with, like, for example, um, when we first talked about March and April, there was a slowdown in consultations, but you've had some uptick now.
Yeah, especially this week. I don't know if with the Supreme Court decision on DACA, that kind of caused some of the increase on phone calls. But we definitely have gotten, at least like 14 consults this week.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
Is that, are you meeting people in person?
we're doing, we give them the options. Basically, we can do it over the phone, we could do it over video call, or they can come in person. And to be honest with you, it's probably, I would say 50-50. There are still people who really just want to see the attorney face to face, and
Right.
that's their preference. But we are obviously practicing safe distancing, and mask is required per the county requirement anyway. So yeah.
Mhm. And, I think you and I have similar principles in terms of business operation, but also how we treat our clients. And what what do you think attracts clients to hire you, Carrie Nguyen?
I think the biggest, I guess, the most common reason that we've heard from potential clients that come to us is they say that we really like that you are a small law firm. We're in the DFW area, so I don't even know how many immigration lawyers are in the area, but I'm assuming a lot. And there's various size, but I think most of the clients that come to us prefer that they get to see me directly. I do follow up with them directly, and then I prep the client directly and go to the interview myself. So I think they really like that direct relationship with the attorney.
That makes sense. Access to attorney is what we try to promote as well. So it's not always speaking to the assistant or paralegal, which sometimes they do have to help supplement the work,
Right.
asking for, let's say date of birth, something like that, or an address, but certainly understandable on your presentation of, access to attorney. That's great to hear. Now let's take a step back. Even before talking about your experience, what what propelled you to be a lawyer?
So I think I can answer more of that as what propelled me to be an immigration lawyer, right? Because
Sure.
I don't know if I wanted to be a lawyer originally, but it just kind of, I don't know, happened naturally, I guess. But I'm an immigrant myself. My family and I came to the United States when I was 10. So I think being able to kind of see the process ourselves and having gone through that experience, never mind that I was like super, I mean, I was a kid when that happened, but just seeing what, immigrant parents have to struggle, I think that what makes us relatable to our clients. When we could say, like, we've been there, we know what our parents have to struggle to get us here. And so I think that itself is the biggest reason why I'm an immigration attorney.
Definitely. I'm married to the Vietnamese American, so just knowing the story from her parents, and it's definitely a struggle. It's I'm learning something new from the family every day. So
Yeah. And
anything that you're able to instill, share with your clients too, so you can make it relatable to your clients. I think that goes
yeah.
a long way.
You know what's interesting is, John, I did a FOIA on an immigration record just for the heck of it. I think a
Right.
few years ago. And what's interesting is on the original I-130 petition that my aunt had petitioned for our family, I wasn't even born yet.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, and then we had to wait for the visa to become available because it was through siblings petition, right? So, I mean, they did it before I was born, and we didn't get here till I was 10 years old. So,
Oh, wow.
when client asks like how long the process is going to take, especially if they have to wait for the visa for the preference category, I was just like, it's going to be a while, but it's possible. I mean, you got to
Right,
put in
right.
that petition, because if you don't, then you don't start the process at all.
Right. So back then was probably called Immigration Naturalization Services, INS.
Yep.
So it's interesting to know that the visa wait times seems fairly consistent
Yeah.
back then to now, um,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Well, how now you manage two offices. Do you have a primary office? How do you operate those?
So I practice primarily out of my Arlington office. That was my first office that I opened. And then I have a lot of clients from Dallas, obviously. And I try to make it convenient for people if possible. So then I have a second office, I think, starting last year. And that's where I meet my Dallas clients if they want to. Now, some people just still feel comfortable going to the Arlington office, but I set my schedule to kind of have 2 days of the week set aside if needed for me to go to the Dallas office. But primarily, I'm in my Arlington location.
Hmm. And did you do you seem like you have like about 50-50, like Arlington area, Fort Worth, where people live there, or what's your makeup, if
You
you're
know
able
what?
to guess?
I haven't done the actual like breakdown of what the demographics location wise coming from, but when I did a survey to decide whether I should open my Dallas office or not, I think I got more Dallas clients than the Tarrant County.
Hmm.
But I think in the past few years, it's been 50-50, to be honest.
Okay, well that's
Yeah.
good. It sounds like you've been able to figure out in terms of like time blocking which office to be at which location. So it's good that clients have access to you again. Uh,
Right.
yeah, because I know some. I asked that specifically how you operate it because some lawyers pick another location, like a second location, and it's like they're completely virtual. So it's more so like they can't even drop off documents. But
Yeah, no, we're lucky we chose the location where I have like a receptionist that's there that's can still collect documents. So even if I'm not there, Dallas clients can still drop off documents. So I think that is, that
mhm,
having an actual physical location that way is really helpful for the client.
right, that's true. We talked the other day about Dropbox. So I hope you've been able to share that tip where you can clients can download that app and they can actually scan it. So I
Yeah.
actually, another, well, to contrast that, I still believe in Dropbox for that scanning instead of Cam Scanner because I tried OneDrive app. They have the same feature, but one like advertisement I got in the mail, it caught some of the smaller boxes.
Oh,
So it would just be more, it'll be a lot easier, I think, through the Dropbox app.
okay. Well, hey, that's more reason
That's
for us to
about
use Dropbox, right?
it. All right. Yeah, I know. I think you prefer Google Drive, but I don't know if they have that scan feature.
We have both. We have Google Drive and Dropbox.
Right.
Um, but I think I'm gonna have to test it out and see how our clients are. Most of our clients are not tech savvy at all.
Oh,
So
I
to
see.
try to convince somebody to download an app and like, hey, take picture, I think it may be a little bit of training for some of our clients. But definitely for the younger clients who are tech savvy, I'm
Yeah.
all for that.
Well, well, my team member Jessica can do you a favor and train what to say, how to incentivize clients to do that. I know it's definitely a struggle. Even we've had clients that we recommend to download an app for the passport pictures because I think it sizes it appropriately. So
Yeah,
that when they email the image, it's already set 2 by 2. It just saves us time as well, and
right.
um, but then sometimes we have to go back, edit the photo to make it a little bit lighter to make it appear that it's the white background. So it's weird. Even though we just had a recent client we sent for adjustment, their wall is white, but it came out creamy or too dark. So maybe it's the
Lighting.
lighting.
It's all
But
about the lighting, right?
mhm. But we just shared an email about, I think it was like performance review, was it?
Hmm.
Can you share like how that's been useful for your office and your team?
Yeah, so um I'm a big advocate for continue to develop your employees. I've been very fortunate to have two paralegals and one of them has been with me for over 3 years. So she just
Mhm.
celebrated her 3 years anniversary with us. And so
Nice.
every year we do a performance review, right? We're trying to see what's working, what's not working. Are there any leadership development skills that we can assist with? I've sent her to ALA conference before,
Wow.
and which I highly recommend applying for the scholarship. So she got
Okay.
the scholarship. If you ever wanted to apply for the ALA conference, I think they're pretty flexible on giving the scholarship to first
Okay.
timer. So we did that about 2 years ago. And ALA conference can be a lot of information at once, but from what I've gathered, she said she learned a lot, especially about waiver. That was really helpful. But going back to the performance review,
Hmm.
we thank you so much for sending me that because that was really helpful because it's hard to when you a one person lawyer running your office trying to do the legal work and also running the management office. It's nice
Sure.
to have that feedback from another attorney.
Hmm.
So we use kind of what the information that you sent over, and I kind of broken it down to kind of like client interaction, writing skills, research skills, and kind of broken into different, like, I think 4 areas, um, that basically seeing where her performance is at, what level, and then what needs to be working on.
Hmm.
And we had a really positive, I would say, meeting. I mean, I think we were all on the same page,
Okay.
and we kind of highlight some of the areas that I think could use improvement.
Okay.
And what we did is we are, and I'm was not very good at this previously, but this year I held myself accountable and say, look, let's put it on a calendar. After our meeting, a follow up, like another 30-day, and seeing where we are on the improvement areas,
Hmm.
right? I mean,
That's a good idea.
she's a wonderful paralegal already, but hey, we all have areas that we can improve on, right? And so
Absolutely.
after the meeting, I, kind of summarize it in writing of what we discussed, make sure that everything that we're on the same page, there's no misunderstanding. And then we set up another appointment to follow up a month from our 1 year review. And I've learned that through, I guess, the Goldman Sachs program for 10,000 small businesses.
Mhm.
You know, it's that with performance, and I don't know if this has ever been done to me when I was an employee at a law firm. You have your 1 year performance and then you don't talk about it again into the next year.
Right, right.
You know, I
Too
think
much
it's
time's
really
passed.
right. And then you're just like, I don't remember what we talked about and like what
Mhm.
areas do I need to work on. So I think just to have that continuous, you know, it doesn't have to be an hour long. I think just to kind of touch base again and
Mhm.
seeing, hey, are we, you know, are the areas that we talked about, is it really, or there's some things that need to improve on still?
Right, right. No, absolutely. We just had ours yesterday, actually, the survey I sent you. And one of the key items that we're trying to improve now is how to update each other without literally sending a chat. Because unless it's urgent, right? If like a
Mhm.
detainee calls and we need to get on a call or something like that. But, you know, it's really, creating that systems in place as well, mostly for communication, right? So yeah, following up, that's a good idea. I didn't even really think about that, so I'll do that for ourselves as well. 30 days from now.
Yeah, I mean, it you know, it could be 30 days, it could be like 90 days. But I think a follow-up would be
Right.
important. Yeah.
I think that's helpful. I mean, you and I are solos. We don't have associates, but if someone were to have a associate, I think that's helpful too, because people in general would like some kind of feedback. They may not solicit and ask the leader, mostly because they don't want to ruffle any feathers, or of course everyone's busy, but
Yeah.
yeah, for any of the people in the audience who have associates or considering to hire one, you should definitely intentionally seek feedback on your own systems and yourself as a leader as well. Mhm.
Yeah.
So you sent me an email also about block scheduling. And so it was like, for example, the morning time is do these type of tasks. And so what's your concept behind that?
So I function with checklists. I function with having kind of step-by-step instruction. And I think my employees are the same way. Luckily, we're all on the same page with that. And I know that the day can just fly by, and then you just get distracted with phone calls and consoles coming in. So what we started this year was just to kind of keep us on track of what we need to do. We have obviously reminders on our software, on our, we use e-immigration for our
Okay.
software. So we have reminders that we set ourselves for the cases, right?
Mhm.
But outside of that, we also have basically a kind of like a daily task list, I guess you would say,
Mhm.
and is hour by the hour, that would say what needs to be done within that hour. Generally, we have our consults from like all in the morning, Monday through Thursday. And then in the afternoon, we set about 3 to 4 hours for appointments with our current existing clients.
I
And
see.
that's when, we have time to really sit down and do affidavits, getting the documents, going over waivers. And our goal is to basically, by the end of each day, I should have at least, one case from the paralegal for us to review.
Mhm.
So that has been very helpful for us to kind of stay organized, because on top of everything else, on top of doing consults, meeting with clients, we also have just like administrative tasks that we got to do, right?
Right.
Like scanning income mails, and just kind of like the little here and there. And we have a certain time slot for that. And
Right.
I've been checking in with my paralegals to see how's that working. And they seem to really saying that it's been beneficial for them, because, we get phone calls coming in and people get distracted, but they say
Right.
we can always kind of look back. Okay, this is what the task needs to be done this afternoon. So it works for us.
Okay.
I'm OCD, so then it kind of has a good way for me to feel like I'm getting things done, being productive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's like a necessary skill set, I think, OCD as at least immigration area.
exactly. And you know what? And I don't know if you do this, John, but I got this suggestion from another attorney where, you know, you be working on a case and a client calls you, right? And instead of saying, you know, pulling you in for that phone call directly, we have started doing basically our 4 to 5, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., the last hour of the office. That is our time for us to call everybody back, emailing people back that has reached out during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So then my paralegal automatically set up, if they know that they need to talk to me, and then that's a question that the paralegal cannot answer, then they just schedule us for like a 10-minute phone call. And we explain to the client like, hey, the attorney's not available right now, but you know, we want to make sure that you get your questions answered. Can we schedule you for a 5 or 10-minute phone call with the attorney so you can talk with her directly? And you know, and client loves that, because I've been in situations where we play phone tag with people,
Right.
and you can't get a hold of anybody. So
yeah,
now
and it sounds like our team members are smart about, like, they can't answer certain type of questions, so that's good.
Right. So that little hour, 1 hour has been dedicated to just having that, you know, instead of having people come in for a question that we could answer the phone in like 2 minutes.
No, that's a good perspective. I use, for the similar concept, we use Calendly to schedule appointments. So if someone calls in and then they don't exactly know their schedule at that time with work or their spouse, and then we of course prefer to have both people on the phone or video, then we'll just send them a text message with our link. But in the scenario you're just now talking about, like potential current clients, I mean, we have a day, pretty much all day Wednesday, where they can schedule up to 15 minutes, included with their price. But you know, I like your idea about, you know, it sounds like every day 4 to 5.
Does your Calendly works, like, does it connect with, do you use Google? Do you use
Yes,
Google,
it does
Google
connect with
Calendar?
Gmail.
Okay, so they know that whenever you're not available, then
Right. So if you already have blocked out for court for like 3 hours, or like a merits or master docket, then Calendly will know that.
I'm gonna have to look into that. That sounds like a great option, because that really cut down the time that people call in to schedule an appointment.
Right. Even, you know, I've seen a dramatic decrease in calls with current clients because of our new policy that we started this about a couple years ago. But the other thing is, it doesn't have to block out for the time that you have in your Google Calendar. You can set a specific time that you want, like you just said, like in the morning you prefer like potential clients consultation. You can set that 9 to 12, for example, and then you can copy it over very easily. You just hit a button, basically. You don't have to like do the time range every single time.
Gotcha. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, check that out. It's like for the basic plan that you have to pay a fee is like $96 a year.
That's not
Don't think
bad
I'm crazy.
at all.
I just looked this up, my expenses like a week ago.
You're not crazy at all. I would do the same thing. You know, they say that that's another thing at the Goldman Sachs program, which I do highly recommend for any lawyers who are thinking about, especially for solo attorneys. You know, we went to law school. They taught us they taught us the law, right? Not necessarily how to be a lawyer. Yeah, they taught us something. We pay for those something, but the business skills, you know, unless you have done some sort of business, I don't know, like have a job prior to going to law school, I would not say we're not very savvy in the business area. But the Goldman Sachs program was very helpful in kind of helping us looking at the number and understanding the finance of it.
Right.
So they recommended that we should be looking at our financial statements, like, you know, every month, every quarter. Which,
see the trends.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Because, you know, we talk like at least once a month, like how's business, you get new consultations. Right. But, you know, I guess the default for right now, we blame it on the coronavirus, but who knows? There could be something in our system that could be affecting it as well.
Yeah, I think cleaning up the processes that we currently have, I definitely see our numbers going up because our process has been a lot cleaner.
Yeah, we've cleaned up our process, like for the intake and following up. And because, you know, when I first started, we'll get the intake and then, we'll call back in a week or just wait for them to call us. And now we've taken an approach, no, we're not going to wait for them, the potential client. We're going to follow up in like X amount of days.
Right.
And, because every client a potential client could be different. Like they're waiting for tax return money, things like
Yeah.
that. So
We have this policy that, and sometimes it's hard to get a hold of people. So our paralegals call at least 3 times. I mean, spreading out to
right. Not in
the
one
next
day.
week. Yeah, not on one day. We don't want to be that attorney. But, and some people will be very honest with you and they say, hey, I don't have the money right now. Or yes, I want to hire you guys, but can you please call me back in next month or so?
Right.
So, but they really do appreciate when you do call back,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think any of our clients have been bothered, or any potential clients have been bothered, be like, you calling too much, or like, I don't want you calling us. I think they're like, oh, okay, well, we appreciate you calling.
We haven't received any negative feedback on that. So fortunately, I do agree with you. I think they like that. They think that, it's part of our service, right?
Yeah.
When they do hire, we follow up with them. We nudge them for documents. So,
Yeah. And sometimes we do it as a courtesy of, hey, do you have any questions? Because I know doing the consult, sometimes people, there's so much information and they just get overwhelmed with it that
right.
the questions that they want to ask, they think about it when they get home, or they remember it when they got home. And
That's a good approach. Yeah, it's like a mini consult follow up.
Yeah, so we do one free follow up when people call in to ask.
Right. Yeah, we do make it a point to call it a courtesy call.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it makes it sound like we're not trying to be bothersome, but maybe they do have some follow up questions. So yeah, that's a good approach. Yeah, we're similar in that way. Well, I think you touched on workflow, and so we just talked about like the beginning stage. Does your case management software, I think you said e-immigration,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned it has like task or to do. Does it have like workflow automation? And what I mean by that is you set up, it's already default. So if you just select adjustment of status in your system, we'll lay out all the steps and it will know like you complete one step, then it flows to another person, another team member.
So it does. And to be honest with you, we don't use it. So probably I'm not the best person to answer that question. We have our own system, and I think this is part of the process that I'm trying to figure out what works better. With any of the software, and you may have a different experience than me because I know you using the different software, but I mainly use it for obviously to the forms production. It does make things a little bit easier. It's not perfect. That's my biggest complaint. It's not perfect at all. You always have to review.
Right.
And then the reminders, I really like be able to set reminders for each case. And so we mainly use it for that. The workflow, the processes, kind of like you say, it triggers. We have our own internal system that basically, once we get the forms, we have the form production, the paralegal review it, and then they pass on to me. And so, and then we have like the reminders set up for the next process, if that makes sense. So
that does. Okay.
yeah, can you explain what you use your software?
Sure. So I actually have a video about it. I just uploaded earlier this week on Wednesday. We use 17 Hats. Now we have 2 programs. I know it can be convoluted, but and so 17 Hats is more the case management, whereas we use DocketWise for the forms, which DocketWise, they've actually added a lot of features the past year or two, because I started using them about 2 years ago for the purpose of forms, but it could almost replace 17 Hats in a way. But if y'all in the audience check out my video about 17 Hats, I think it's the best case management software in terms of for lawyers. So this is not intended for lawyers. It was actually created for wedding planners. That's what it actually mentioned that in some kind of marketing thing flyer. But I was like, well, this seems like it could be helpful. So in terms of workflow automation, so it can, for example, like I mentioned earlier, like they have 3 different types of tasks that, or you can create on there as your default. One's like you literally just check it off, like a kind of like a checklist.
Right.
Um, or you can set one as automatically send reminder. So when you check off the previous task, the next one could be send a reminder email to a client. So the one before that could be like, okay, review evidence that they've uploaded so far or shared with you. Then, 99% of the time, clients haven't uploaded every single thing we need. So then you have a default email, a template email, which is another great feature that I have. Then, and when I say automatically, it doesn't literally automatically send it to them instantaneously after you check off the previous task. You do have the opportunity to review it and change it, customize it. But, that's the other feature I mentioned, the template emails. I think that's crucial, especially for immigration, because a lot of our emails are very similar. Sure, yes,
Right.
you can change it and customize it to your client.
Do you find that the clients, because it sounds like you have to have some clients' involvement in the process, right? Do you find that there's any resistance with, because immigration does that too, where you can send the clients the questionnaire, right, and then they fill it out online, and then it automatically, instead of having us actually input it ourselves, it automatically put it in the system. But
Right.
we try to use that before, and sometimes our clients are like, no, I don't know how to log in, I don't know how to do it. So then we
So
end
I
up
don't know,
having,
does e-immigration have like require them to have a login?
it does, because I think
Okay.
we had to, I think we tested it before, and they do have to like log in,
Oh, I see.
which,
Well, sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean, I just, sorry. So I didn't, that's part of the reason why we haven't been really utilizing immigration to that extent.
Huh. Okay. Well, what I was mentioning earlier about the workflow automation, that's for us internally as a team.
Hmm.
But in terms of what I use for immigration forms, docket-wise, we are able to send the questionnaire by email and by text message to the
Okay.
phone. And that's a new feature in the past like
Huh.
year. And but to the very issue that it sounds like you have is I don't believe DocketWise requires them to have like a login registration. So that could be helpful. And the other feature I like about DocketWise is that they could go back to it later to answer other questions. They don't have to do it all in one setting.
So it saved the
So it's so
information automatic. Yeah. I would have to check that out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Check that out. And that's just some of the features that I found beneficial with DocketWise. But it seems like in 2 years with them, they've continually improved their processes and features.
No, that's great. I mean, there's so many softwares out there for us immigration lawyers, and it's always. I know when I first started out, we were just trying to figure out which one do I get. Do I pick?
Yeah,
So I'm glad that there's constant new softwares out there, because I'm not particularly too happy with mine, but it just seems like
right. It
it's
does
gonna.
job, but you could probably found something that is easier for everyone involved, clients and yourself. It sounds like.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
definitely.
good. Yeah, and I think DocketWise charges between $50 or $59. It may be a little bit more discounted if you pay in full.
Hmm.
But I know some of the like when I researched more 10 years ago, 8 years ago,
Hmm.
I think the traditional software they require like a license, and these days I don't think anyone should pay for a license. That's like an additional initial fee. So for anyone considering that, please check out DocketWise first.
Very good. Yeah, I don't think immigration required, but again, I had it years ago, so I don't remember exactly.
Mhm.
But
To transition, there's a lot of social justice movement in the news now and in the public, of course. How do you think us as specifically immigration lawyers can play a role to help further the cause? Or maybe like turn a tide actually, because especially President Trump.
yeah, so I think the past, what is it? I guess, almost 4 years now, right? It's
Hmm.
been definitely challenging to be an immigration attorney. And hopefully, we don't have to deal with that for another 4 years. But even just outside of like immigration, I mean, especially this year alone, right? Like the Black Lives Matter movement,
Hmm.
it's I think it's really a call to unite, for everybody to unite, whether you know your cause is immigration rights, or for LGBTQ community. I think it kind of shows that we all, regardless of wherever what cause we are rooting for, it's just a unity. Like we all need to be united, and maybe it doesn't affect us directly because we're an immigration attorney, but just the fact that if somebody's right is being taken away, then it's an issue for everybody as well.
Right.
So I think for me personally, as an immigration attorney, when a client is sitting in front of us, immigration law is the biggest concern, right? But
Right.
if I happen to have a U.S. citizen person sitting there as a petitioner, I really kind of like address some of those issues, some of the reason why their family member is in this situation, and
Hmm.
really, really, really encourage people to vote, because it is shocking to me how many U.S. citizen petitioner, did
Hmm.
not vote in 2016.
Oh wow, didn't even vote.
And they were like, I just didn't think it mattered, like I'm just not really into politics.
Or
And
some even
then,
assumed that Hillary Clinton was going to win. So
yeah. So I say, I explain to them, hey, this public charge, this whole thing that we're dealing with, asylum seekers, not be able to get your work permit, it's because of what happened in 2016.
right,
So it's, if anything, you have to vote, and do your research and figure out who is actually voting for what's going to actually be beneficial for everybody. So I mean, that's my biggest thing on the day to day, is just trying to really, any opportunity I get to convince U.S. citizen petitioner to vote, or try to get as many people to become U.S. citizen, and then
yes,
register them to vote, because they think that once they become a citizen, like they're happy, and they forget that there's responsibilities to becoming a U.S. citizen, and part of that is
right,
voting.
right. We've helped our clients from step one all the way to the end to become a citizen. So the least they could do for the general public is to vote, right? That's right. We
Exactly.
don't, and I don't tell people who to vote for. Just
Right. No, and we don't either.
hey,
But if they ask, then we kind of like guide
based on
them,
our
and
personal preference. Yeah,
yeah, just
well, that's
like
for
based on
sure.
your personal preference. But if you're concerned about, helping another family member to get here to the United States, or then you probably need to do your research and figure out how harmful this administration has been.
Right.
Um, so
Well, we don't want it to be too late for them, right? Because let's say they're able to get help petition their spouse or family member get residency, and then 5 years later, who knows, this family member could get caught up on something and then they get referred to with the NTA, notice to appear in
yeah,
court.
yeah,
And then they realize, oh, maybe I could have done a little something, and that's voting, right?
right.
So who knows? It's just a long, it can be attenuated, but one thing leads to another, clearly, with this administration.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's especially with, we have so many people that, they're scared, and they just don't want to apply for citizenship. They just want to renew their green card. And so we really, obviously the choice is theirs, right? We can't
Mhm.
push them to do one way or another, but just really try to educate them on the benefits of becoming a US citizen. Because I mean, just like yesterday, I had a guy who had his green card for like almost like over 20 years. And he just like, oh, I just never thought about becoming a citizen. And now he wants to petition for his wife. But obviously, he's only an LPR, legal permanent resident.
Mhm.
So there's limitation to that.
That's true. One
So
second.
vote.
Well, thanks for the advice so far. I guess to conclude, is there any, part of our audience is young attorneys or less experienced, and even people who are in law school right now. So I think you provided a lot of value for them today. Thank you. If you were to look back when you were in law school, for example, is there any advice you have for people in the audience, what they should consider, any tips for them when they're starting their own practice?
looking back, I would highly recommend getting in touch with an attorney. Reach out to anyone you know who are doing what you want to do. Like if you are interested in immigration law, feel free to email all the immigration attorneys in the area and see if they're available to just, hey, can I chat with you for a few minutes? I get a lot of requests from law school students, I guess, that's reached out and say, hey, I'm interested in immigration law. Can I ask you, and I don't mind at all. We just do like a, 15 minutes phone call. And then, so I would definitely recommend in talking to somebody that are doing or practicing an area of law that you're interested in. And then two, get involved. There's so many organizations out there that are just doing amazing things. So get involved, volunteer, and connect with as many people as you can.
That's great advice. And I found that when you do volunteer and give back in some way, it'll come at least 150%, something good will come out of that. And it's a good break, right, from our own daily practice.
I absolutely, you and I, we always see each other. I feel like when we're not seeing each other in court, we see each other at a community event, right?
Right.
And you're Mr. involved in everything. So, but it is always nice to see like your colleague, we see each other in court at USCIS, but it's nice to know that like all of us are involved in the community as well. Because I think for the majority part, all of us are doing it for the right reason. We care about the cause and we want to, offer pro bono hours to the community. And that's really where I agree with you. It's where I feel like, oh my God, it feels amazing to be an immigration attorney.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's I think it just gives us some life into our to what we do. It gives us a refreshed idea of why we do what we do, for sure. Because when we get stuck into all this software that we're just talking about, we could we could be a little bit misplaced for that week, especially with all these new horrible policies coming down from the administration.
And I think especially I can speak for, being an immigration attorney in the DFW area, and I think generally in probably nationwide, because we know attorneys from other states too, is that there is definitely a sense of community. We're all on the same page, right? So unless you're like working for the government, we're all on the same side fighting for the same cause. So as far as like if you ever have any questions about, hey, what motion should I file? What does this look like? I mean, you run the Dallas immigration lawyers, Facebook group, and every day, like I feel like I get on there to see what's going on, are there any, things I can learn. And I think that's what's really amazing about our small niche community,
Right.
is that we're always willing to help out.
You're right. It seems like it's our daily briefing. It's our presidential briefing that we read.
As much as I don't like Facebook and I want to get off Facebook, I just feel like I can't, because I'm going to miss out on all this work-related, professional.
That is ironic. I did create the one for Dallas, but I'm trying to be less on Facebook. So now I'm going to catch 22.
Yeah. I really wish there was a way to be on Facebook just for those professional groups without getting the other stuff involved.
Right. Which actually, now that I think of it, that'd be another topic maybe you could help me on. Best practices for your business social media page, or maybe what not to say.
What not to say. Yeah, exactly. Just basically, I'm just like, I don't really say much on my personal page. Just try to keep it professional.
Yeah. Well, I know. I think you generally stay positive, and I think that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of negative things in the news. So if someone's thinking something negative, just don't post.
Exactly.
We have enough of that.
Yeah.
But okay. Well, I think that covers it for today's topics. We really appreciate your time, Carrie.
Thank you, John.
And in the description below, we'll add your website and ways that folks can contact you, whether it's someone at law school or potential clients in Dallas area.
Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. I know you're a busy lawyer, dad, husband, and everything. So thank you for this.
Sure. Well,
All right.
it's like running a law practice.
And you have employees.
Hey everyone, if you liked our interview today, please hit subscribe down below and hit the like button. And also leave a comment. We'd like to hear your feedback. We'll see you next Monday. Thank you very much.